Atheists occasionally ask the question, if the entire army of Pharaoh drowned in the Red Sea, why haven't we found any evidence? Where's the evidence for these guys drowning in the Red Sea? And that's a fair question, okay? Many atheists ask very fair questions, and it's time Christians be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh the reason of the hope that's in you. But in Exodus chapter 14, God told Moses to go and camp by the sea, and it says they went across on dry ground, and the waters were a wall beside them. It does not say they walked through a reed sea. There's some even liberal Christians that say, oh yeah, they just walked through shallow water. Well, then how did Pharaoh's army drown? You tell everybody, lay down, don't get up. Okay, I mean, come on. It was dry ground. And the Bible says God took off their chariot wheels. So what's the truth about the Red Sea crossing? It says the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen. If you look at the country of Egypt in the lower right-hand corner of this map, you'll see Egypt has the Red Sea right beside it. It comes up into two branches, the one on the left called the Gulf of Suez, where the Suez Canal is, the one on the right called the Gulf of Aqaba. Actually, there are two parts to the Red Sea. It splits right there around what's called the Sinai Peninsula, which, by the way, is not, no, Sinai is not there. But the children of Israel were leaving Egypt, and it took Pharaoh 3 days to catch them. They could not have crossed the Gulf of Suez. They went all the way across the Sinai Peninsula and crossed over there on the right at the Gulf of Aqaba. Right where that red dot is next to the Gulf of Aqaba is actually a beach. There's a dry riverbed that runs right up to that beach, and it's mountains on both sides and no escape any place. Certainly not with a bunch of people with their families, you know, kids and wagons and animals and stuff like that. You're not going to get up either one of those mountain ranges. This satellite view is kind of from the north, a little strange view. There you can see that beach right there. The children of Israel went out of Egypt at the far upper right and traveled all the way across the Sinai Peninsula and stuck on that beach. That beach is huge. Those are little buildings, those little squares on there, actually warehouses and stuff. It's a monster beach, big enough to hold 2 or 3 million people, no problem. So here's the children of Israel stuck on the beach. They can't go north or south. There's mountains both ways. They can't go back. There's Pharaoh's army coming through the gap, and they can't go ahead. There's a Red Sea in front of them. So what do? Well, you cry and blame God for your problems. That's what everybody does, okay? God, I can't get out of this. What do? Dry riverbed where they came out. At the south end of the beach, Ron Wyatt years ago found a pillar right there. He pulled the pillar out, scrubbed it off, and set it up on concrete, and it was pretty badly eroded, but some of it was still legible. And it said in Paleo-Hebrew, apparently the pillar was erected by King Solomon, and it said, this is the pillar erected by King Solomon to commemorate the crossing of the Red Sea. Gilbert Vincent's a good friend of mine from Texas. He's been there a couple times. He got a bulldozer and helped stand it up straight and put more dirt around it because it was kind of leaning over. He climbed up to the top of it. Right there, where this beach is it's about 8 miles across the Red Sea. Well, at that point, there's a shallow spot. The deep up toward the city of Eilat, where I was a few years ago, is about 5,000 feet deep on both sides. This whole Gulf of Aqaba is about 5,000 feet deep, except for right there. There's a shallow spot. I should probably say shallow. It's actually 900 feet deep. That's still pretty deep. But 900 feet over 8 miles is not bad. It's a gentle slope down, gentle slope back up. And if you go scuba diving down there, you'll see the rocks have been moved out of the way. Somebody cleared a path across the bottom of the Red Sea. Probably done by Moses and the people. The Bible says Pharaoh's army drowned trying to cross the Red Sea. The waters were a wall unto them. To walk 8 miles would take half a day with all the children of Israel pulling their wagons and everything else. At the bottom, according to Ron Wyatt, he went scuba diving down there and found human bones, horses' hooves, chariot wheels. Now there's some controversy about the chariot wheels, but this is what appears to be a chariot wheel, gold-plated. They said you can't pick it up. It's a gold veneer because it just crumbles. The wood's rotted out. It's like chrome plating on a car. If you put a bumper in the water, let the bumper rust out, just had the chrome, you couldn't pick it up. It would crumble, okay? But there are those who argue that's not legitimate. I don't know. But I'm just telling you what Ron told me, that there were real chariot wheels. When he took the pictures to the Antiquities Department in Egypt, they said, oh, wow, this is from the 18th dynasty. He said, how do you know that? They said, well, the 18th dynasty is the only one that used 4, 6, and 8-spoke chariot wheels, and all 3 were down there. So this was the same guys that chased Moses out of Egypt, the 18th dynasty. So that makes Mount Sinai over in Arabia, because remember they crossed the Red Sea and then they came to Mount Sinai? The Sinai Peninsula is not where Mount Sinai is. Mount Sinai is in Arabia. Right over there in that red section there is actually the holy precinct where Mount Sinai is. Galatians tells us Sinai's in Arabia. It says so in Galatians chapter 4. If Ron is right on all this, and I believe that he is, and you can see much more on his Discoveries series, it's $100 for 5 DVDs. That's how they fund their ministry, to go back over there and do more research. Well worth getting. You can see this is apparently Mount Sinai. And there's video footage of all this. The top is still burned. Became a type of a volcanic glass like obsidian or something. It actually burned the rock. At the bottom you can see the outline where the A border was set up because remember Moses told the children of Israel, don't come up onto the mountain, and but says they established a border. Well, the pillars are still there. There's also apparently the altar that Aaron made with a golden calf. They made the golden calf on the altar, but on the side of the altar, they drew a picture of a calf or cow. Still there. God told Moses to smite the rock and water would come out. Well, most of the Bible story picture books have a little trickle of water coming out of a rock and somebody holding a cup. How are you going to feed or water 2 million people and their animals with a trickle of water coming out of a rock? That's a stupid idea. Some of them show a little bigger picture. Actually, a little bigger picture of water. Actually, it's probably huge. A lot of folks think this is the rock that Moses smote. That rock sticking up on that mountain is 5 stories tall, 50 feet to the top of that rock, as tall as these trees around here, and it's split right down the middle. On both sides there are erosion marks. Water came pouring out of that rock. So you can see the video series for Ron if you want more on that. And Sodom also, he's got a lot of stuff on his website and on his video series about Sodom and Gomorrah. The Dead Sea in Israel has 5 spots along there that are just real high salt concentration and totally destroyed landscape. Ron says he found, and I believe him, Sodom, Gomorrah, Gera, Gaza, Admah, Leboam. These are the ones the cities that were destroyed. You can read through Genesis chapter 14 and Deuteronomy chapter 29 and get more on this. But God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Apparently, Sodom and Gomorrah are right there along the south end of the Dead Sea, right by Masada. When I was up on top of Masada a couple years ago, you can look down and see this big square in the ground where apparently it used to be a city. This picture shows what looks like pilasters and towers of an ancient wall. Well, that's the way they built their cities back then. If you make it up over one wall, you got the enemy dumping arrows and hot oil and things down on you, from the second wall. Not a good place to be. We have sulfur balls. I've got some here on the table. These are actual sulfur balls from Sodom and Gomorrah. They smell like sulfur. They're 99.9% sulfur and they're burned out. Okay? If you break them open, some are still yellow inside. Most of them are pretty badly burned. Some of them are bigger, like golf ball size, but millions of these sulfur balls are over there, right in that one area. It literally rained burning sulfur. So hot that it took the bricks of the city and baked it into ash. These sulfur balls specimens were tested by Michael Bonilla, a friend of mine up in New York. He said they were 97.4% pure sulfur when he had them tested. No place else in the world has these phenomena. We've got hundreds of them in our museum out here. Sulfur balls from Sodom and Gomorrah. Apparently, the cities were actually burned up. If you dig into the ash, it looks like just a cliff of ash. That's actually the old city wall. I mean, that was the brick. Under 2,600 degree temperature, it turned into ash, laminated. You can talk to Richard. That's Richard in the picture there, digging his finger into the ash, and there's sulfur balls in there. We've got one that apparently is a part of a human bone that was baked. It's in our museum, if you want to see that one out there. So I believe they found Sodom and Gomorrah, and you can check the Discoveries videos if you want more on that.